So I found this workshop in Europe that I feel like kind of encapsulates exactly what we were trying to do, which is a social agent, the workshop in large language models for social reasoning and simulation. It's going to be held in December, but the call for papers deadline is August 25th. So I was working on this the past, I would say around 2 weeks. So yeah, this is basically, the workshop is on the themes are on social reasoning and cognition, and how like there is genuine reasoning versus just prompting artifacts. So prompting artifacts is just when you tell LLMs to do something and they kind of do it. So they do want people who kind of build LLM based social agents, but then do it with some kind of grounding. This so that is what I feel ours is, right, because of the softwares that I've integrated where they actually try to solve code, where they put in pull requests. So we have like actual basis for our agents versus just telling them to imagine themselves as someone. So this also comes in about in this theme where it's how valid is that simulation, how valid are those LMs as proxies, what are those standards. So ours won't be something that kind of presents those standards, but we would say that these the fact that this code works is one thing where it could act as a proxy for a developer. And I'll take you all through the paper as well, where you'll understand. And then yeah, these were their basic topics. So I do feel like this is what goes the best, which is agent based social simulation using LMs, how they coordinate, how they cooperate, what is their collective action. So we do have a lot of these themes. When I had all of my work on how contributors discuss amongst themselves versus how when they submit a pull request, how a maintainer reviews it, and how that kind of uh, affects the contributor on them. So yeah, this is about the conference, and then I do have a very very rough draft of what I would like my paper to be. So I like it to be like I think this one of these like short papers itself, because again most of my this was about how I built the Lamosk software. Uh, and yeah, this is just in a Google Docs for now because I did want to, just put it up here, and then once I have all of your feedback and comments and some changes also that I wanted to try to make. Once I have all of that, I can convert it into LaTeX and um, continue from there. But yeah, this is so. If like anything so far, or I can just go through the paper as well once what I've drafted. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just continue. So Lamosk is what I had named my software, and I think for the paper I would like it to say that it's a grounded cybernetic agent-based model for open source sustainability simulation. The reason we're doing this project is sustainability of open source communities is threatened by escalating rates of contributor burnout, and agent based models that utilize large language models offer a good approach to these dynamics. I've also addressed this in literature review where I did see some papers that kind of try to do the same, have agent based models utilizing LLMs for different social dynamics, not this particular one. But most of them have are these like textual simulations where you are an agent. Imagine you are an agent in this situation. How would you react? How would you do it? There are a few papers that also try to make the agent solve something mathematical or something that gets reviewed to kind of bring them as close to human proxies as possible. So that's what I say here, that sometimes these textual simulations do suffer from prompting artifacts. So we introduced Lamos, which is the LLM driven agent based model for open source community sustainability, which is an ABM framework bridging generative social simulation with deterministic software engineering, which we do by integrating these LLM agents with the autocode rover software in isolated Docker environments where they each have the ability to generate and test actual diff patches on real GitHub issues. And the effect of how these patches are generated and tested and created affects their internal motivation, which carries the whole simulation. Again, so during my time, I had empirically tested two different topologies, two different governance models. Authoritarian assignment model, where there is one like central maintainer who's kind of looking at which issue should be assigned to who, reviewing everything and doing everything, versus a decentralized peer bidding model, where agents come up with their own solutions, bid amongst each other, and based on the discussion, those bids, mathematical bids are created, and the agent who wins the bid kind of gets to work on the issue. And I did in so what I said I was working on in the past 2 weeks. So I'll share it, but I did run some around 30 odd simulations on the software in different varying levels of difficulty projects. Everything from building like a basic calculator CLI app to like trying to build a GUI paint app. And what I saw was the among these two governance topologies, the decentralized governance generates like the networks and the motivation decay and everything that it generates. It kind of is better compared to the authoritarian topologies, which proves that everything that is structurally more resilient. I think there's some mistake in writing this line, but what I wanted to say was proving that uh, decentralized is structurally more resilient. This line is something I hope to remove because so in among those 30 odd simulations that I ran, some things that I ran for the very hard ones, very hard problems. The autocode rover patch generation kind of failed for a lot of those. The reason being I was using a basic Llama 3 LLM model. So, because of that, I do think, I mean, it does not have that good of a capability. So, I will just try to take the next day or two and see if it's possible to get better results, or maybe then just keep it and say that I'm using a older model that did not kind of work that well on the more difficult issues. We don't have very accurate data for that. Yeah, so coming to this is something that was from previous research, where basic research on real life has found that there is a very high dropout rate for new developers. 50% of newcomers just make a single contribution and abandon an OSS project. And about 45% of contributors eventually suffer from burnout and they just kind of disengage and such. So to like predict the health of these communities, instead of trying to just do analytics on the existing platforms, whereas where you just try to see how many lines of code has each individual contributor committed, we say that we have gone towards prospective agent based models. The majority of the current multi-agent simulations operate as pure textual role play. So it is just via probabilistic language generation. There is no environmental feedback that they're getting back. It is just one agent talking to each other, which is where prompting artifacts comes in and what we want to not have. So instead of just having a prompt instructing it to do so, we are trying to bridge this simulation to reality gap by grounding the social dynamics with a deterministic software engineering engine, which is the kind of code space that I would say I've created, where we take issues from GitHub. We take our existing GitHub repository and we use autocode rover. And using this, we evaluate two distinct models. Uh, and we try to measure the simulated motivation decay against the human baselines that we get from those earlier papers. And we demonstrate that the decentralized peer regulated governance preserves integrity and mitigates burnout to a certain extent compared to authoritarian models. And this is just some related work and all the references that I've taken. So some agent frameworks that I looked at to understand how LLM based agent based models work, and autocode rover, of course, that I used within my project as a software. And next, the some papers that I referred to understand these gen governance models. So understanding of these authoritarian versus decentralized models, and also how like traditional ABMs used to use reinforcement learning in a way, and how I could try to do that with LLMs. And of course, the paper that we're using as the human baseline for motivation decay. And so we have like a baseline of 50 to 60%, and we want to see how close we can reach to that to kind of prove that RLMs are good proxies. And then the methodology, which is what I created. uh, so yeah, coming to here, this is kind of from my final blog as well, which kind of just explains this diagram on how Llamask works internally, about the environment, about how I've used GitHub repositories and integrated autocode rover, about how I have created these issues ranging from like good first or earth shot issues to expert required or March issues, and introducing metrics such as code quality, which is measured and updated at each time step by a reviewer agent. And we can kind of try to visualize its trend to understand more. And then what do the agents have? So they are coding ability, and each agent has a persona as well, so their role description, which comes with a unique backstory, which affects their initial motivation level and their behavior that they have during these GitHub discussions. And then the agent variables, which is their internal states, which also we try to graph and plot, which is their experience level, which goes from 1 to 5, or their motivation level, which is influenced by both this backstory role description as well as the bid acceptance rejection, the success in assigned issues, and the code quality reviews of generated code requests. All of these is like environmental feedback that affects this internal state of the agent. And yeah, it's deterministic. All of these things will affect it instead of um just textual things. And I tried to run these simulations from like, so I ran 10 simulations each to get an average understanding. So the first, like the easiest one would be like a to-do list project, to something like a GUI paint project kind of task that I asked it to work. And this is explaining the governance models, uh, and what we observe. So the maintainer agent, when it manages and allocates tasks after evaluating contributor proposals, it kind of forms a very rigid network, which will like create communication bottleneck, because all contributor agents need to talk to the maintainer agent and wait for it to make a decision. Whereas in the decentralized model, we have this whole bid making process where it empowers these contributors to bid on tasks based on their own suitability. They self evaluate their experience level and check whether they are eligible for something or no, and their internal motivation. And based on that, they bid mathematically combined with a textual representation as well. And then next is just how these motivation functions change. So, how at the next time step, the motivation function will be the previous time steps with a decay on, what happened if they did not get something they bidded for. So there'll be a decay in proportion to that. Otherwise, if they generate a valid dispatch, it will increase. So there will be a increase in that. Or if the tests fail, then it will decrease. And then the final, and what would affect the motivation the most, again, I think this is a mistake. This should be times 50. But yeah, the final code quality score will say that it is about, what is your code quality. So a function of the quality. If it is very less, it will be negative, it will apply a penalization. Otherwise, it will be a positive multiplier. And a variable as well that was introduced to kind of simulate human mood variability, where sometimes the motivation could change randomly as well, based on some agent just not feeling like they want to, continue, even though everything is going good for them. So for that, we introduced a random stochastic variable. And the next is the results that I had on my this. So yeah, the first thing that we noticed was the decentralized model, required more longer and more token based phase for the discussion, where they were deciding on what to do. Because for the authoritarian model, each agent comes up with, I will solve this issue like this, I will solve this issue like this, and the maintainer just picks the best one amongst them and says, yes, it's assigned to you, you solve it. Whereas in the peer bidding model, sometimes they contradict each other as well. They say that, yeah, you are more experienced, you should solve this issue, but what you are suggesting is overkill. And then the others agree and say, ki, yes, let's let this agent solve it and such. Next, I address that on the high ones, the model struggled under this like technical ceiling of both autocode rover and it using the llama 3 model. So sometimes for the really really tricky bugs, it just could not create anything. Um so we were able to see the differences also using this, and I would hope that I will try to run some simulations with a higher model that would kind of eliminate us having this ceiling in the first place. This again is exactly what I talked about, the authoritarian, this maintainer having a lot of load of evaluating everything. So these are those hub graphs, where over here, like each contributor just trying to talk to maintainers for each issue. Whereas in the peer bidding model, they kind of just talk to each other in those. This is about, these graphs are based on the original GitHub discussions, where they are trying to understand who can solve what. And of course, even in decentralized, for code quality review or PR review, the maintainers come in. But in authoritarian, the maintainers are also points of contact for the initial ones as well. So the decentralized run shows volunteerism and conformity. So for this, I have added some. So these are like snippets from the actual discussion that these agents did. So this would be something where, agent which has a good level of experience says that I propose introducing this dictionary that maps these names to their values. And so another agent with lower experience actually comes and says that, yeah, I agree, but I think we can actually simplify this. We don't need multiple dictionaries. We can just use one to store both the line coordinates and colors. And based on this, the both these contributors then give bids. And even though contributor one is selected, because this is put in the discussion, it will take this into consideration as well when it's actually solving this issue. So it says that this has like an advantage, right? Even the less experienced agent, even though it is not contributing to the pull request, it is refining the approach prior to bidding, and it is kind of ensuring good allocation as well. The next is this, where we try to compare what our agents did with the empirical human baselines. So this is the graph that I kind of ended up creating as an average of these, of all of these uh, simulations, where uh, you know for in in authoritarian, more agents dropped below this critical continuation threshold, and the reason is also explained in this, where because this contributor was kind of selected, and it was not able to solve it correctly, so after its evaluation, its motivation dropped by a huge number. Whereas the decentralized model, it says that it has a little bit more resilience. So, and then of course, I also agree that the mass shot issue kind of skewed this data a bit. So, I want to try to generate all these graphs once again. Uh, but yeah, so that is kind of the two kind of metrics that I wanted to put up, which was, one was these motivation decays, and the other being the communication models. And yeah, I guess one of the main, this is the fact that we have something that actively has code creation, and kind of, if gives feedback based on that, and how we compare the decentralized versus authoritarian models, and what differences and similarities we observe. So that is what I've tried to base my paper across. And yeah, I'm open to any and all feedback on
Yeah.
both. I mean, what I should address, if there's anything I addressed wrong, any basic feedback about the structure of the paper as well, and so on and so forth.
Well, I mean, it looks good. Why don't we reserve the like comments on it to Slack and that, so we can kind
Yeah,
of
sure.
yeah.
I will. Yeah, I think
Well,
I
thank
just
you.
dropped in the. Yeah,
Yeah,
I dropped
that's
in
the
the link
workshop. Yeah.
of the workshop, and I'll also drop in a link of the paper, so anybody can just kind of come up with comments as well. I do have to do some work to um,
Yeah.
fix a few things as well in it, empirical data wise as well. But yeah, sure.
It looks like you've made
Thank you
pretty
very
good
much.
progress on it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I did for the past few weeks. Since I found this workshop, it was some motivation to that there is, like, like-minded people who are kind of doing similar things with LLMs and social dynamics and such. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll try and find the paper. We just did. So the other thing that we did Tuesday night was the CogSci reading group on uh, the reasoning models generate societies
Hmm.
of thought, and in the replication work that I was doing for so you know they didn't release code and as usual, and but in replicating it and thinking more about so you know like they were really trying to make this point about the diversity of perspectives in this particular.
Hmm.
And one thing, and I'll try and find it. The I mean, I'm trying to find it right now, but maybe I'll just drop it in the Slack. But uh, it was kind of like an entropy measure to get at the diversity of of uh, of agents, contributions, and especially if you're just when you have a bunch of agents, but they're all basically using the same model. Like, how do you get actual diversity? And it of course is a paper that I got from Elvis at Dare. I think most of my LLM papers at this point come from Elvis. Or
Yeah.
but I'll try and find that paper because I think that's interesting, and I've certainly I've played with your repo, and in doing experiments, and that might be something to link to this. But like the workshop looks really interesting.
Yeah, sure. Do feel free to reach out to me on Slack as well with any feedback or comments you have. And yeah, thanks. That's all from my side. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you. Yeah.